Bible secrets about economic crisis and God's financial rescue plan. What if I told you that buried within the pages of the Bible are secrets, real secrets that can save you in the middle of an economic storm? That long before governments collapsed, currencies lost their value, or shelves went empty, God had already designed a rescue plan tailored for moments just like this. This isn't just a story about ancient people facing old world problems. This is your story right now. And God wants you to see what He has already placed in motion for your financial deliverance. So take a deep breath, because what you're about to hear isn't just information. It's a spiritual revelation that can unlock the chains of fear and poverty and launch you into a supernatural provision. The dream that saved a nation. Picture this. A young Hebrew slave sits in a prison cell in Egypt. He has no money, no position, no earthly power, just dreams and the favor of God. His name? Joseph. And in a single night, God downloads into Pharaoh a prophetic warning. 7 years of plenty, followed by 7 years of crushing famine. Panic is about to sweep the nation. Economies will dry up. Starvation will take root. But through Joseph, God gives more than a prophecy. He gives a plan. Save during the years of abundance, Joseph says. Prepare, store, be wise. And just like that, a nation is rescued, not by military might, not by politics, but by the obedience to a divine strategy. Egypt becomes a global hub of provision. People from other lands travel miles to buy grain. Even Joseph's own family, who had betrayed him, come seeking help. What they thought was their worst mistake, God turned into their lifeline. The lesson? God always gives foresight before famine. The storm never surprises Him. The widow, the prophet, and the empty jar. Now let's shift scenes. Imagine a poor widow. Her cupboards are bare. Her sons are about to be sold into slavery because of unpaid debt. All she has left is a little jar of oil. Enter Elisha, the prophet. He doesn't hand her money. He asks her a strange question. What do you have in your house? She replies, just a small jar of oil. Then comes the instruction. Go and borrow vessels, as many as you can. Shut the door behind you and begin to pour. And something miraculous happened. The oil flows and flows and flows until every vessel is filled. She sells the oil, pays her debts, saves her sons, and lives off the rest. Imagine her shock. One moment, she was preparing to lose everything. The next, she became a businesswoman, managing an oil supply that saved her family. The secret? In her moment of lack, her rescue came from what she already had, and her willingness to obey a strange instruction. God didn't create the oil, He multiplied what was already there. God in the middle of a siege. Flash forward to a besieged city. Samaria is surrounded by enemies. Inside, people are starving. Inflation has skyrocketed. Things are so bad, they're selling donkey heads for silver. Mothers are contemplating the unthinkable. Then, out of nowhere, a prophet stands up and says, by this time tomorrow, food will be cheap and plentiful. The king's officer laughs. Impossible. But God uses 4 outcast lepers, men who had no value in society. As they walk toward the enemy camp, God causes the enemy to hear the sound of a mighty army. They flee in terror, leaving everything behind. The lepers stumble into a camp filled with food, gold, clothes, and supplies. At first, they hoard it. But then, they remember the starving city. They go back and report what they found. By morning, the city is filled with food and joy. The prophecy comes to pass. The officer who mocked, he saw it happen, but never tasted it. God turned the tide in 24 hours. The blueprint for survival. So what does this mean for you and me? Here's the truth. God's rescue plan is not random. It follows a divine pattern. Let's walk through it like a story, not a lecture. It begins with a divine whisper, a gentle nudge in your spirit. Start saving. Don't make that purchase. Give to that person. God speaks to the heart before he moves the hand. His whispers prepare you for what your eyes can't see yet. Then comes the faith test. You have little. God asks you to release even that. Maybe it's a tithe, maybe a gift, maybe your time or skill. It feels risky. It feels backwards. But obedience activates provision. And then, as you obey, something shifts. Oil begins to flow. Opportunities open. Debt begins to reduce. Peace replaces panic. You begin to see the hand of God in unexpected places, in the kindness of a stranger, in a job offer that you didn't expect, in favor that cannot be explained. Faith, obedience, and timing. These are heaven's currency, and it doesn't stop there. As you continue to walk by faith, God often upgrades your vision. What started as survival becomes strategy. You start building, saving, giving, leading, teaching others how to overcome. God is not done yet. Maybe you're listening right now and you're in the middle of your own economic siege. Maybe you've lost a job, or the bills are piling up, or you feel like that widow with just a little oil and a whole lot of pressure. But what if I told you that God has already prepared a plan? He hasn't forgotten you. In fact, he's been whispering. And if you tune in, if you dare to obey, even when it doesn't make sense, you'll begin to see it unfold. Because in every biblical crisis, God didn't just rescue his people, he positioned them for increase. Joseph didn't just survive the famine, he became ruler of Egypt. The widow didn't just pay her debt, she lived off the overflow. And you're next in line. God doesn't do rescue without restoration. He lifts us out of the valley so we can climb the mountain. Jesus in the tax crisis. Even Jesus faced an economic dilemma. One day, Peter is confronted. Does your master pay taxes? They didn't have money, no treasury, no savings. But Jesus sends Peter on an unusual mission. Go to the sea, cast a hook, and the first fish you catch, open its mouth. You'll find a coin. Take it and pay the tax for both of us. Think about that. God orchestrated a fish to carry money in its mouth, swim to a certain location, and bite Peter's hook right on time. God's provision is never late. It's often hidden in the ordinary, waiting for obedience. Your action plan. So what do you do now? 1. Ask God for revelation. Like Joseph, he can show you what's coming and how to prepare. 2. Obey the small instructions. Pour the oil, sow the seed, share the bread. These small acts of obedience unlock massive miracles. 3. Don't isolate. God often uses community to release provision. The early church shared and none had lack. 4. Guard your heart. Fear is contagious, but so is faith. Choose to anchor yourself in what God says, not what the news says. 5. Be content but expectant. Contentment protects you from desperation. Expectation positions you for miracles. 6. Write down your miracles. Record every testimony, every provision, every breakthrough. Build a memorial to God's faithfulness. Heaven's economy. There's one more story. Jesus sits near the temple. He watches as rich people give out of abundance. But then comes a poor widow. She drops in 2 tiny coins, all she had. Jesus doesn't ignore her. He celebrates her. Why? Because in heaven's economy, faith is the currency. And she just made a deposit that moved eternity. So friend, as the world trembles, heaven is watching. Not to judge, but to rescue, to guide, to provide. And your story is still being written. The famine may come, but so will the miracle. God's financial rescue plan isn't coming. It's already here. All you have to do is follow the whispers, obey the instruction, and trust the God who never fails.